pleasure to speak with you. How you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
And not too bad. I'm really excited to chat with you because I consider myself a wrestling nerd. So getting a chance to watch and screen this series and kind of get the beginnings of your story was really exciting. And then to know that I was going to get a chat with you made it even better.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Big Little Brawlers and what we could expect.
So this Big Little Brawlers will be, I believe, the first ever little person wrestling program in the world that puts wrestlers like us on a pedestal as far as putting disabled people, what society views as looking different, will be viewed as a superstar. We have the biggest, larger than life personalities in this company. I would put the wrestling that you're going to see, the athleticism that you're going to see, over anything that you see on TV. That's no disrespect to anybody on TV. That's just these guys are always viewed as here their entire life. They have something to prove. So when they go out there every single time for 550 shows a year on the road, these guys deliver the 5-star matches every night. And I'm talking a 4'7" person doing a shooting star press off the top. That's what you see with micro wrestling. There ain't no other company doing that.
No, definitely not. We can see in the shows. We got to screen the first episode. We can see the passion in you guys. We can see all the work that you guys put in. And 2024, really going into the new year now. Wrestling is hotter than ever, just across the board. So, what a time for the series to come out. How excited are you guys to be able to showcase that nationwide now, especially on TV?
Very excited. I've been a fan of wrestling since I was 5 years old. It's been my lifelong dream since I was a kid. As far as wrestling's been my number one passion. It's like a marriage for me. I was the one dragging my family into it. I've been to over 100 live events in my life. I've seen every single one that's come to St. Louis in the last 30 years. I've literally been to over 100. I've worked with Harley Race at World League Wrestling, where I announced Matt Sydal. I've announced Scott Steiner matches. I've announced Nick Aldis. I've announced all the greats that you see on TV. My boss was Harley Race. The only reason I got that job was because I annoyed him the whole year and called him 5 days a week until he called me back. And that's, he said, "You were persistent, little guy, aren't you?" He goes, "I've got your voicemails, and we're about to do a script here with Mizzou TV. We're going to do a weekly show on Saturdays after Mizzou football." And he goes, "I need a play-by-play guy. I don't have anybody." I go, "Well, I could do it." And I kind of lied to him and told him that I called matches before and had experience when I've only called volleyball, basketball, stuff like that. But I knew what I could do. I believed in myself, and I knew that I was put on this earth to announce wrestling. And it's been my dream. I used to mute the sound when I was a kid and talk like Tony Schiavone.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I think your story in particular that we're going to see in the show is my favorite, just because you can see that. You can see your passion from your mic skills and what you're doing, and then wanting to be in the ring with those other guys. But you tell us a little bit about your limitations, and but here we are. We set the foundation, especially in the first episode. And tell me, I wish we were doing this interview at the end, because I'm not going to want to spoil anything to anyone about how it goes and everything. But for you, how great was it to be able to share your story in particular with audiences, and your journey in trying to make it to that main event in the ring as a wrestler?
So that's a great question. So everything's kind of changed from the start of this company for me to now in the best way possible. One, I've grown up a lot since then. Two, it's not about me and the adrenaline rush anymore, going out there and performing in front of a live crowd. I tell my story every night, and it's become now not about me. It's been more about when I tell my story every night now, there's always a kid in the crowd with spina bifida or an electric wheelchair or has cerebral palsy, and you're giving them hope. I watch these kids in electric wheelchairs just like me. When I was a kid, they're coming through the door, and other kids that are able-bodied are kind of keeping away from them and not shunning them intentionally, but treating them the way that I was treated when I had a disability as a kid. And I make it a point to go up to everybody that's in a wheelchair and have a long, drawn-out conversation with them. Just let them know that I care about them. and that I'm doing this for them. I hurt bad every single day. I tape my body up every night. I'm like Mr. Potato Head. I have to put myself together every night to go out there and give them what I got. There's times I can't walk to the bathroom, but when my music hits, I come alive. And it's if I'm hurting really bad, I'll look out in the crowd and see a kid in a wheelchair, and I'm like, I go for them, like I fire up for them, and I push through whatever I'm going through. So
See that's one of the beauties of wrestling that I think some people I mean everyone can have their own perspective, be a fan for their own reason. I grew up with Mexican wrestling where the luchadores were seen as superheroes.
yes,
And to me that continues. There's nothing better and more exciting for me than to see a kids, especially some kids with disabilities who don't necessarily fit in other areas, be at a live show and just come alive and watch their
yeah,
parents just love their experience, because to them, you guys, wrestlers, are heroes, real
yep,
life heroes, tangible people that you can see fly through the air. You can see them do 5-star frog splashes and pick up
yep,
giants. Yeah, as you can see, I love wrestling, and for that reason, for people like you to be able to be heroes like that,
yep.
and I'm very excited that you guys have this platform.
You know,
And
I tell
go
the
ahead.
story of, like I said, I tell the story by bone disease and everything. Last week, for example, we had 3 guys in wheelchairs, 3 kids. One of them was really depressed, and one of them was actually one that I sent a cameo to. And they were saying, "Hey, Ivar, do you remember me? You did a cameo for me. It was a pep talk cameo. Basically, tell them to hang on. They were going through surgeries and stuff, and tell them to believe in themselves when nobody else does." They came to a show recently, and I was doing my story in the ring, and I was doing my concert, and I dropped down to my knees and I tell my story. I say, I wish I could be a wrestler. I wish every day that I could wrestle, guys. I've broken over 100 bones in my body. I've had over 10 surgeries. The doctor said I would never walk or ever get out of the wheelchair. I worked out like a fiend. I dropped 22 pounds so I could rise and be an inspiration and role model to all the kids out there. And when I tell that story, everybody comes with me on that ride, and it's like that moment of hope for everybody. And at the end of this last week, the end of the story, I said, before Micro started, before we kicked off the first match, I said, from being in a wheelchair at Target to traveling the United States and being on Discovery Channel next week, nothing's impossible. And I get them fired up. But that story's real. It touches the hearts of the kids that have no hope in the front row, that are going through a lot. And I would like to one day use this platform to go back to Shriners hospitals across the world. And Shriners was the reason I'm walking, and I want to give back and be a motivational speaker down the line.
And what does that mean to you to be able to take something you're so passionate about, that is wrestling, make it your profession, make it your livelihood, and then be able to use that to give back, to be an inspirational figure for other people that are
Yeah.
going through similar different challenges, and
Yeah.
to give them that hope that sometimes they don't have until they see you in the ring.
Yeah, that's where all the power is. That's where the whole thing is there, the magic of what we do. Like, we always think of ourselves, and it's just natural. When we're in the adrenaline moment, every wrestler just kind of wants their shine and everything else. But what we need to also remember in the back of our mind is we're viewed with being little people as people that are different. I'm not going to say disabled, but I'm going to say different. And we could use that as a platform to inspire a bunch of people. And that's what I try to do. And it's hard sometimes. You get caught up in the moment. You love what you do. You love the electricity of what you do, but you got to also remember that you have a platform that you can move people and inspire people. I've had people that security guard at Virginia Beach. We did a show in Virginia Beach at the Seaside Raw Bar, and it was the head security bouncer, 300+ pound guy. He was crying on my shoulder at the end of it because he had purchased a weapon and was going to off himself. And he said that my story made him, he's going to hang on and he's going to push through. And you don't realize what you're doing in that moment for people like that until you get people coming up to you and saying that, and when you're at your lowest, when you're hurting so bad you can't walk to the ring, that's what pushes you, because you're not just doing it for you, you know.
Yeah, that must be an incredible feeling. And one thing that caught my attention, you just mentioned it a little bit. It's like, yes, we're different, but we're not. And I think
Yeah.
that's what the series does very, very well. You guys have a variety of personalities. You have a couple who's bickering. They're in the ring together, but I don't know how that works. And then you have in-ring personas that are clashing with each other, past and future stars. You have your story, who's dreaming to get to the next level, and everything in between. Tell me a little bit about just the way that a big Little Brawlers was made in that essence to showcase that we're really no different than anyone else, than any other wrestling documentary. We're just as passionate and crazy as any others.
Well, in the history with little people, not just little people wrestling, but you think with little people, you think Oompa Loompa from Willy Wonka, you think The Wizard of Oz, you think circus, you think so. Like, there's a stigma of little people and little people wrestling that is there, and people. I always say this all the time. People come to our show for the little people, they stay for the wrestling, because the difference that we have, and I'm not ripping on any other company that's little person wrestling, the difference between us and them is it's not just the wrestling, it's the characters. They're larger than life characters, and they dive headfirst into the character. So, I mean, if you watch a 5-star match, you don't care about how great the athleticism is unless you're invested in the characters. I've seen guys go out there at the beginning of AEW, they have no backstory to that match, and they go out there and they kill each other for 30 minutes, and it's an amazing match. But you're not invested because there's no story, there's no character development there, there's no reason to want to watch it. Like, when you're invested in the storyline, if I do my job correctly on the mic and they do their job correctly in their gimmicks and everything else, there's a cohesive, like, magic moment in wrestling that if everybody works and does their job right, you get those, like, you can feel it through the screen, the electricity moments. And that only works if it's larger than life personalities who are all in. And these guys are all in. They're like, when Zach Presley's music hits, he's Elvis's unclaimed child, right? When his music hits, he is a larger than life, like, oh my gosh, like the lights are on him and he looks like a spectacle. He gets his hair all done. He looks the part, looks like $1,000,000 and could go out there and wrestle an hour-long match. You know what I mean? So there's nobody else doing anything outside of side headlock, takeover, and suplex. And our guys are doing shooting star presses.
It's impressive, and honestly, it was a lot of fun to watch the first episode. Just got the second one, so I'm gonna eat that up tonight. Before I let you go, I have to ask you, because I can't let you go without asking you. Tell me some of the keys to being a good speaker on the mic at a wrestling event.
Okay, so the keys to being a good speaker on the mic is the knowledge, knowing your superstars, knowing their character, knowing where they want to go. And that comes with being really good buddies and talking with them and being friends with them, studying everything that they do in the ring and watching all their promos backstage. I do my homework on the side. I'm watching all this stuff and taking notes, and I'm trying to get in my head where they want to go with their gimmick and their character, and I'm trying to tell the story that they want to tell. I'm trying to do it with my own words. The other thing is being passionate. I've loved wrestling since I was a kid. It's outside of my family and my marriage. I wrestling is like my end all. Like, I love professional wrestling. So loving it and having a passion for it is the other big thing. And then the knowledge of the business, knowing the psychology of it, knowing I've studied it for 30 years, knowing what you want to portray in this storyline to the crowd. If you want it to be a fight, if you want it to be grueling, if like Pinky and Syko, I'm no Dr. Phil, but we could definitely get some couples therapy resolved right here, right now. We do stuff like that and make jokes The two macro micros, right? They go at it sometimes. It's Micro Tiger, Chief Littlefoot, both 300-pound guys, but they move quick. You know, like these macro micros reverse Irish whip, big shoulder tackle, like being hit by a bus, a short bus, but a bus. Stuff like that. You make them laugh and just kind of break the ice. But once you break the ice, you got them.
Yeah, because I was listening to some of it as you're doing your thing, and it's just incredible. So I was very happy that I was going to be able to ask you about it and get some insight on it. And I know I got to let you go soon, but what is it like for you to be in that ring and surrounded by large crowds? And I ask you this because last year, for the first time, I sat second row at a filled arena for a live event here at our Save Mart Center. And it was drowning. Like you could almost like the energy that comes into the ring. Like I was so tired by the end of the event, and I was just sitting there. But that's the energy that the crowd feeds into. What is it like to be in the ring and feeding off crowds?
It's addicting. It's the best feel in the world when you can go out there and shake and convulse and say all the stuff I'm saying, and the crowd comes with you. Because the first time I did it, Jack, my boss, didn't know anything about me. He knew I was an entertainer. He knew I was a singer. He handed me the mic at a live show and said, and I said, what do I say? He goes, I don't care. I don't know. Go out there and wing it. And so he gave me the mic, and I said, if you're ready for the greatest, and I don't know anything about this company at this point, right? If you're ready for the greatest show tour in the United States today, the most athleticism you've ever seen in your life, the Micro Wrestling Federation, make some noise. And I started shaking and convulsing, and my veins were popping out of my head, and the crowd was electric. They didn't even know who I was. I come back to Jack. I handed the microphone. I said, that's winging it. And that was it. We're off. But I feel so much more comfortable on stage. Like, that's a second home for me. You know, like I've been announcing my whole life. I actually announced my sister's getting, like when she was getting her Christmas gifts, she would model her new outfits, and I would announce that. You know, like I've always been the class clown and the entertainer of the family. And I love when the spotlight's on me and the pressure of, hey, the show's on you, buddy, sink or swim. I love that pressure, you know, where some people don't.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. Obviously, you're comfortable there. You're at home there, and that you can see that when you're working. You know, Ivar, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate love for wrestling, from one wrestling nerd to another, and I just hope all the luck on Big Little Brawlers. Very excited to follow your story, and hope to see more of you.
Thank you so much. And for the tiniest rock star on the planet, the voice of micro wrestling, nothing is impossible.